Hey there, everybody. This is Ellen Weatherford.
And Isaac.
And this is Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast, where usually we take your favorite animals and rate them out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics. But this week, we're not quite doing that. We're doing something a little different.
I'm back.
He's back.
4 years. 4 years. I've waited for 4 years.
That's right. He has been often demanded by the droves of raving fans who chant your name. They say, Isaac, Isaac, Isaac.
Bring him back.
I know they've been, and the feeling has been mutual because Isaac has really been wanting to come back for an episode for a long time.
Yeah.
Since your first appearance as a guest expert on this podcast 4 years ago, would you like to remind listeners?
Oh, yeah. It was the Doomerang. I have a fuzzy memory. I think it talked using tattoos on its belly.
And you are, of course, the world's leading expert on the Doomerang.
I mean, I was the world's only expert on the Doomerang.
Best of one, baby.
Hilarious.
So Isaac is back. We have collected some questions from our young scientist listeners.
Yeah, I'm going to read them.
Yep, Isaac is going to read the questions. I'm going to do my very best to answer them. This is a good time to remind the audience that I myself am not an animal expert, but I did do a lot of research to make sure that I was giving good answers to all these questions. So these are not simply off the cuff. I put a lot of thought and effort into answering these questions. So I hope that they are to the satisfaction of our curious minds.
Yes. Also, can I tell them about my little fictional ecosystem at the end?
At the end.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you expanding the Doomerang cinematic universe?
No.
The Doomerang lore?
That one came and went.
Oh, okay. This is fresh OC then?
Yes, I have a new ecosystem that I'll talk about later as mentioned by me.
Okay. All right, Isaac, could you please read us our first question?
Kay wants to know, what is the smallest animal?
Isaac, what do you think the smallest animal is?
Probably a flea.
That's a good guess. How big do you think a flea is?
I mean, you can barely see it with your eye.
Yeah. Have you seen fleas before?
Yes, I've seen them.
Yeah, they're pretty icky, aren't they?
Yeah, they're disgusting.
About how big do you think a flea is if you had to measure one?
Probably like 1 micron.
1 micron?
I am very uneducated.
No, that's okay. So the smallest recorded organism that belongs to the animal kingdom. And I think a lot of people don't realize how many things are considered animals because the smallest recorded organism in the animal kingdom.
Is it a bacteria?
No, it's not a bacteria because bacteria are not considered animals.
Those are considered organisms.
They are organisms, that's right. But they're not animals. They're in a different kingdom. So the smallest organism in the animal kingdom is a microscopic cnidarian. Cnidarians are an entire group of animals. Animals that you would know from the cnidarian group would be jellyfish. So these animals are very, very distantly related to jellyfish.
You read my mind. I was just about to say, what is a cnidarian?
Well, there you go. It is, well, a jellyfish is an example of a cnidarian. The smallest animal in the world is a type of cnidarian.
The jellyfish's great-great-grandmother's second cousin twice removed.
More like cousin, not necessarily an ancestor of the jellyfish. It's more like a very, very distant cousin.
Billionth cousin, 29 times removed.
Yeah, exactly. And this species is called Myxobolus shekel. They have been measured at only 8.5 microns across. Now, for context, about 117 of these organisms could lay end to end across the width of a single human hair.
Not the length, the width?
Not the length, the width. Like,
you're kidding.
Like, if you pull a hair out of your head, you look at the very, very tip of that hair, and you could fit over 100 of these animals end to end across the width of one hair.
That is insane.
Isn't that cool?
That's crazy.
So a micron, anything that is like measured in microns, is going to be something that a human would not be able to see with their eyes.
Looks at the hair under a microscope, sees the animal. What are those? I did not need to do that.
No, you didn't. I'm glad we're getting some cringe memes in here, though. That's
amazing. I'm the cringe reaper.
So things that are measured in microns are usually bacteria. Like bacteria and like microscopic things are measured in microns.
Yes. Weren't we talking the other week about corks?
We were, yeah.
Not like bottle corks, like quarks.
Yeah, like the
quarks.
Quarks.
Am I British now?
Quarks would definitely be much smaller than a micron, but
yes, definitely.
Now, if we're only looking at vertebrates, which are animals that have a spine, right? This would exclude things like bugs, insects, jellyfish, single-celled organisms, stuff like that. If we're only looking at animals that have a spine, the smallest known vertebrate is a frog from Papua New Guinea. They're called Paedophrene amawensis. My pronunciation is going to be very bad on that, but they have been measured at only 7.7 millimeters, which is about a third of an inch. So to give you an idea of about how big this frog is, 2 of these frogs could comfortably sit side by side on a dime.
Wait, when you were pronouncing it, I thought you were going to say Among Us.
Among Us.
Among Us.
Among Us ensis.
Among Us and sus.
Yeah. Now, the smallest reptile, what do you think the smallest reptile is?
Probably like a very, 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 very tiny like lizard or newt or something.
That's true. It is a very, very, very tiny lizard. Now, newts, I will remind you, are amphibians. They are not reptiles. But you're right, it is a very tiny type of lizard. It's called the nanochameleon.
Oh God, is it? Let me guess the length. Is it 1 nanometer?
No, that would be very funny. I would be surprised if they found a lizard that was only a nanometer. The species name is Brookesia nana. They're only found in northern Madagascar, and they can reach just a little over half an inch long.
You found my nana.
Just for more of the smallest animals, because I find this to be a very cute topic. The smallest bird is something called a bee hummingbird, which are only 2 inches long and they weigh less than 2 grams. And the funny thing about that is that since they are the smallest bird, they're also technically the smallest dinosaur.
You kidding?
I will remind you, Isaac, that people listening cannot see your facial expressions. So making faces will not come through on the recording.
Dramatic pause. You kidding?
So the bee hummingbird is the smallest bird. And then the smallest mammal.
Is it a human baby?
A human baby? Can you think of any mammals that are smaller than human babies?
A mammoth?
A mammoth?
I'm joking.
Okay. It could be either the bumblebee bat, which is a little over an inch long, or the Etruscan shrew, which is just a little bit longer, but it weighs slightly less at about 1.8 grams. So both of these little critters are something you could just fit on like the very end of your finger.
Tie. It's a draw.
Well, one of them is a little bit longer, but one of them weighs a little bit more. So, I guess it just depends on what you mean by smallest.
Like, do you mean, does it weigh more? Or
right.
Does it weigh the least? Or is it, like, the least length?
Right.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with length just so I can see the bumblebee bat on top.
I know, isn't it cute? It's so cute.
I can already imagine how cute it is just listening to the name. You do not need to do that voice, though.
Wouldn't bumblebee bat be, like, a really cute Pokemon?
Yeah, now I'm thinking about it.
If they had, like, a bat Pokemon that was, like, also kind of a bee?
I bet it would be bug and dark type.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Because, like, bat, they're at a night, so it's dark. But also, bumblebee, it's a bug.
Yeah, exactly.
I can only imagine how annoying that would be.
So those are the smallest animals that I could find. I thought that all the different types of smallest animals were pretty interesting. So that was a great question, Kay. Thank you. You want to read the next question, Isaac?
Okay. Delilah is asking me, or you, what is your favorite butterfly?
Do you have a favorite butterfly, Isaac?
Mine is the monarch butterfly for a very backstory reason.
Oh, let me hear your backstory.
So, I was in kindergarten, and my teacher, very nice teacher by the way, got us 2 monarch butterfly caterpillars.
I remember this.
And one time, I went out into the garden to get milkweed for them. And the entire class voted on the name.
Oh boy.
And
let's hear it.
One of them was peanut butter, and the other one was...
Jelly.
Jelly.
Those are cute names for butterflies.
Yes.
Peanut butterflies.
Oh,
Get it?
No, nobody needed that. No one needed to hear that, Mommy.
Is this our cringe extravaganza? This is the highest cringe episode we've had yet. So that's cool. I like that you had a really good experience bonding with monarch butterflies. It seems like that really had an impact on you.
Also, they're very cute.
They're so cute.
If I could have maybe a little mesh ball that hangs from the ceiling, it would be a very big hollow mesh ball, and you could keep like a butterfly in it. If I could choose a butterfly to have as a pet, monarch.
That's a good one.
Monarch.
But now monarch butterflies need to migrate. Like, they have to travel really long ways, so it wouldn't be very nice to keep one as a pet. Keep it from migrating.
Yeah, actually, so I have a strategy for that. I would take a monarch butterfly, bond with it, and then when it's time for it to migrate, I release it.
Oh, nice.
I release it into the wild.
Okay, all right. I like that. You just take care of it for a little while and then let it enjoy its life.
Give it the best few months of its life.
My favorite butterfly, I think, is the blue morpho butterfly. That is an iridescent blue. It is a butterfly where the back of it, if you're looking at it from behind, it is this really, really beautiful, brilliant, iridescent electric blue with like kind of black around the edges of the wings. But if you see the underside of the wing, it's this kind of brown, camouflaged looking, like drab brown color, but it has these big eye spots on the bottom of its wings that make it look
so it's like where's the head?
Well, it makes it look like it is not just a tiny little butterfly, but actually the eyes of a much bigger and scarier animal. So it's meant to try to scare away predators.
The name Morpho sounds familiar because there's a boss in a Kirby game. It was called Morpho Knight. It's like an evolution of Meta Knight.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I think this is maybe my favorite butterfly because one of my favorite selfies is a picture that I took of myself sitting next to a blue morpho butterfly. And in my picture, you can only see the underside of its wings, but you can see those big eye spots, which is really cool. So I like blue morpho butterflies. Delilah, I believe, also had another question. Would you like to hit me with that one?
Okay, Delilah also asks us, what sound does a giraffe make?
Isaac, what sound do you think a giraffe makes?
It goes honk.
Honk.
Or does it go ark, 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 ark?
That's a good one. Could you imagine a giraffe making that sound?
No.
You've seen giraffes before, right?
Yeah, I fed one.
Yeah, that's true. You have fed giraffes at the zoo. Do you remember them ever making a sound?
No.
There's a reason for that. So giraffes can make a wide variety of sounds like snorts and grunts, but it is very rare. They usually don't make sounds, and that's probably because their necks are so long and narrow that it would take a ton of effort to get enough air flowing through their necks to vibrate their vocal cords and their larynx. So it would be very, very difficult for them to make vocalizations because of how long their neck is. So usually they just don't. They do have great eyesight, and since they are so large, they're very easy to see. So giraffes usually communicate with other members of their herd just non-verbally, meaning they use things like body postures and facial expressions and even like ear positions to kind of communicate with each other visually rather than having to make sounds at each other.
Oh, I guess what this ear position means.
What? Oh, you're doing something with your ear that nobody listening can see.
It means skibbity.
Oh, great. Awesome. Now, a 2015 study of giraffes in zoos revealed something really, really interesting, something that people didn't know.
Why are you smiling?
Because at night, when it is difficult for them to see each other, because it's dark, right? They can't necessarily rely on body postures or anything to communicate with each other because it's so dark. Giraffes hum to each other to communicate.
Here, what do you think I'm telling you?
Oh, you're humming Skibbity Toilet.
I'm the cringe reaper.
Yeah, clearly. I think we've hit our cringe quota for this episode.
All right, I'll stop.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to read the next question?
Yes. Diedrich would like to know, how do epaulet sharks breathe on land? Now here's a question. Mm-hmm. Do they breathe on land?
Keep that question in your pocket. Have you ever heard of an epaulet shark?
I've heard of a shark.
Have you heard of epaulets?
No.
You ever seen a picture of somebody in kind of like maybe an old-timey military uniform where they have these little like shoulder pads that often have little fringes and stuff on them?
No.
So epaulet sharks are these small, slender sharks covered in spots. They're called epaulet sharks because they have these big black round spots on where kind of like where you would think their shoulders would be, that look kind of like those epaulets in old-timey military uniforms. Epaulet sharks are found around the coasts of New Guinea and northern Australia. So you'd find them around like the Great Barrier Reef and stuff like that. Now, the unique thing that really sets these sharks apart is that they can not only survive outside of water for extended periods of time, but they can actually walk across land. They can use their fins kind of like legs and kind of rotate their fins around to walk basically across land. So epaulet sharks can walk across land for up to 30 meters or 98 feet. For reference, that is about the length of a Boeing 737 airplane. So the interesting thing is that while they're doing all this walking across land, they're not actually breathing at all.
Oh,
you were
false
right.
Question.
Well, it would make sense if they're, if they're spending all of this time outside of the water, you would think they must be breathing somehow, but they're not. See, sharks need water to be constantly passing over their gills in order to take in oxygen.
But the thing is, they're not taking in oxygen.
They're not. There's no water around them to move over the gills. So instead, the epaulet shark has just gotten really, really good at surviving without taking in very much oxygen. So since these sharks spend a lot of time in shallow water near the shore, when the tide goes out, they often end up in, what does the tide leave behind when it goes out?
Tide pools.
There you go. Yep. So epaulet sharks end up sometimes stuck in these little tide pools. So they had to adapt to surviving in those tide pools without very much oxygen, because when water is trapped in a tide pool with lots of little sea creatures breathing in it, we were just looking at tide pools last weekend, and you remember how many little critters there were in those little tide pools? Mm-hmm. So think about the fact that all of those little critters in those tide pools are breathing, which means they're taking up the oxygen available in the water in those pools, right? It's kind of like being stuck in like a closed box. The more you breathe, the more oxygen you're taking up, right? Out of the air in the box.
Just like if you're trapped in an airtight container with somebody else, you hold your breath.
So basically, there wasn't a lot of oxygen available in these tide pools. So epaulet sharks had to get really, really good at surviving without access to a ton of oxygen.
Wait, if they can survive without oxygen?
Not forever.
Okay, but what if they could survive long enough to just make a mad dash for the tide?
That's basically what they can do. They can survive long enough and walk across land, so that if the tide pool that they're in gets so depleted of oxygen that they're not going to make it, they can get out of the tide pool and walk back to the ocean and get more oxygen.
If you're not going to breathe anyway, die trying to survive.
You might as well make a break for it, right?
Like, if you stay there, you're not going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
You run out, you're not breathing until you make it to the tide. So, there's still a chance you survive.
They don't just use it for getting back to, the ocean to get more oxygen. They can also hop from tide pool to tide pool and hunt. So they can hunt other creatures that are trapped in the tide pools, like fish or, little invertebrates or something like that.
Why? They are sharks. Why does that surprise me?
I know, sharks got to do what a shark's got to do, right? So they can hunt other creatures trapped in the tide pools. Now, the next question is, how are they able to survive on such little oxygen, or how are they able to survive without oxygen for so long? And it's pretty cool. The epaulet shark is able to basically slow down their brain and body functions so that their body is using up less oxygen. So imagine it kind of like how when your phone is low on battery, you can dim the screen and close out apps to let your battery last longer, right?
Yeah, it's like your phone's low on battery, so you go into low power mode to limit the amount of apps you have access to, which means that it's taking up less data, which means that it's taking up less electricity. I'm just going to stop.
So the shark's body basically has a battery saver mode. that they can go into, where functions of their body that don't necessarily contribute to like keeping it alive are maybe either temporarily shut off or just really slowed down, and that can kind of keep their necessary functions going so that they can prioritize where their oxygen is going. They're basically holding their breath for up to 2 hours, which is really impressive. So I'm sorry, Diedrich, if this has kind of deflated you a little bit. They are not breathing on land, but I think the answer is pretty cool too. Isaac, let's take a quick break to hear from a couple of our friends on the Maximum Fun Network, and then we'll get to the rest of our questions.
Hey, when you listen to podcasts, it really just comes down to whether or not you like the sound of everyone's voices. My voice is one of the sounds you'll hear on the podcast Dr. Game Show, and this is the voice of co-host and fearless leader Joe Firestone.
This is a podcast where we play games submitted by listeners, and we play them with callers over Zoom we've never spoken to in our lives. So that is basically the concept of the show. Pretty chill.
So take it or leave it, bucko. And here's what some of the listeners have to say.
It's funny, wholesome, and it never fails to make me smile.
I just started listening and I'm already binging it. I haven't laughed this hard in ages. I wish I discovered it sooner.
You can find Dr. Game Show on MaximumFun.org.
Video games can make you laugh.
They can make you cry.
They can even make you sing.
We're the hosts of Triple Click.
It's a podcast about video games.
This is an exciting time for new games, from Diablo to Final Fantasy.
From Starfield to Street Fighter.
From Zelda to... Oh, who are we kidding? We're just going to talk about Zelda.
Whether you play games or you just like hearing about them, we've got you covered.
Find us at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Bye.
All right, Isaac, we are back. Let's hear our next question.
Felix would like to know, polar bears are great swimmers, but they are so big. How do they float in the water? That's a very good question, actually.
What do you think?
Maybe so I know that you're supposed to be the one answering the questions and getting...
I know, I just want to hear what's going on in your head.
Maybe since they're so big, you know how floaties are so big, but they're full of air, which makes them buoyant and it makes them rise up. It's like a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
Hot air goes up.
Yeah.
And so the fire makes the air go hot, which makes it go up, makes the balloon go up.
Why do you think it is that the floaties float?
Probably because there's air in it, and air is enclosed in rubber.
What do you think it is about the air that makes it float?
The air is... Wait, there's no AC in the floaties, which means the air just gets hot.
I like where your head's at. I see where you're going with this, with the idea of hot air rising. It's not about the temperature, but I like where your head's at. That's a good thought. And you're on the right track with thinking about the floaties being...
Is it buoyant?
It is buoyancy. So buoyancy is the word for how well something floats, right? If something is very buoyant, then it will float.
Sounds like a party meal.
A buoyant?
Sounds like a buoyant.
A buoyant?
A buoyant.
Yeah, buoyant.
Yeah, buoyant.
Okay. All right. That's enough of that.
I could go on for way longer.
So when we're thinking about what makes something float, it's not just about its weight or about what you would think of as its volume. So how much space something takes up. It's not about either of those things. It's about a combination of those two things.
Here's my volume.
So the combination of those two things, its weight and its volume, gives you the important thing for buoyancy, which is density. Have you heard this word density before?
I figured out the answer to your floaty question.
Okay.
Floaties float because they're not dense.
Yeah, that's right, because they're not as dense as the water around it.
The water is dense.
Yes.
I actually learned this.
Yeah?
If something is denser than the water it is in, then it will sink. But if the water is denser, then it floats.
That's right. So how would you explain what density means?
So think about it like this. A hollow cube is not as dense because it's hollow. If you fill it up with, let's say, toys, then there's more mass in it, which means that it's denser.
Mm-hmm. Same volume, but more mass. That makes it more dense.
Yeah, so if it's the same dimensions, but there's more mass, that's what density is.
Yeah, and then you could take all those toys that you filled the cube up with, and if you were to put all of those same toys into, like, a house, It's the same mass, but now it takes up much more volume, so it's not dense anymore, right? So it's about the relationship between the size of the container and the mass it contains. So to apply what we've talked about to polar bears are very large. They are the largest bear in the world and even the largest terrestrial predator in the world. There are larger predators, but they are aquatic predators. So like orcas, for example. So polar bears are just absolutely enormous. I don't know if you would consider a blue whale a predator. I mean, it does eat krill, but...
It's a predator to krill.
That's true. I guess if I was a krill, I would consider it a predator.
It's higher up on the food chain. When I think of predator, I think of higher up on the food chain than something else. If the blue whale is higher up on the food chain than something else, I would consider it a predator.
Sure. I guess you could consider it a predator.
Big brain.
Okay. So polar bears are huge. That is correct. They are very large bears. But a lot of their mass is
empty space.
It's not empty space.
It's air.
It's blubber. Do you know what blubber is?
Yeah, it's like warm fat that keeps you from getting cold.
Yes. So a lot of animals that live in very cold places have blubber. It is this thick layer of fat that is stored just beneath the skin, and it does keep an animal nice and warm.
Here's my blubber.
Great. Awesome blubber. So this layer of blubber basically acts like a built-in puffer jacket. Now, the interesting thing about this blubber is that fat is less dense than water. So even though the polar bear's body is huge, this thick layer of blubber basically acts like a life vest, or like the floaties that you mentioned earlier. It keeps them afloat, even though their body is huge.
Humans are dense.
So muscle is more dense than fat. Now,
and if humans are full of muscle, that means we're super dense.
In general, primates do store a lot less fat on their bodies than a lot of other animals, like bears, for one, for sure.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at, for example, something like a gorilla or a chimpanzee, gorillas and chimpanzees are much, much, much smaller than polar bears, but they're like solid muscle. They have very little fat on their body. Their body is mostly muscle, so their body is much denser than a polar bear. So even though they are a lot smaller than polar bears, they're denser, so they sink instead of float. So I guess the answer to the question is it's not all about size. Size isn't what determines whether something sinks or floats. It's about density, and polar bears have a lot of blubber that is not as dense as water, which is why they float.
It's like in an action movie. Like, there's one guy fighting another guy, and it's like the guy is super bigger. But then the smaller guy ends up winning. Because the big guy is just, like, dumb.
I don't think it's like that.
He's basically smaller, so he's lighter on his feet.
I think that's more of like an agility thing.
He's more agile.
Yeah. Isaac, would you like to read the next question from Violet?
Yes. Violet... I got to touch, no, not me specifically.
We know.
Violet.
We know you're saying
Violet got to touch a sturgeon at the zoo. It was not slimy and soft like other fish I have touched. Why was the sturgeon so rough in texture?
Do you know what a sturgeon is?
Yeah, that's at the dome at the aquarium, right?
That's right. Yeah, they have sturgeons in the underwater dome.
I remember I overheard some other kids looking at a sturgeon and they're like, it's a shark! It's a shark!
Was it a shark?
No.
It
was a sturgeon. So, a way you can tell a sturgeon apart from a shark, first of all, if it has little whiskers like a cat, then it's a sturgeon. But also, if it has like little ridges on its back, kind of like you.
So you're talking about the diamond-shaped plates along its back.
Yeah, like the little ridges. If it has ridges, then it's a sturgeon.
Yeah, so sturgeon, like you mentioned, they have those little...
I have a reverse question, Violet, if you're listening. Where did you get to touch a sturgeon? Sign me up. Where is this sturgeon?
We love sturgeon. Yeah, they're really cool. So Violet wants to know about why sturgeons have such rough skin. And I've never touched a sturgeon before, so I didn't know that they had rough skin. Sturgeon are very, very large fish, like Isaac kind of mentioned. Their bodies are really interesting because rather than being covered in the sort of overlapping scales that you might see on other fish, they have just a few rows of these bony plates called scutes.
Scutes.
Like a turtle's shell, basically.
Scutes. Got me a scoot.
But in between those scutes, their skin is just bare skin. It's not covered in overlapping scales like other fish. And that skin is very rough and sandpapery, which I'm guessing is what Violet is asking about. So I actually couldn't find a straightforward answer on my own. So I actually asked a fish biologist.
Yes, I'm going to get a scientist answer.
Yes. So I reached out to Brenda Prachel, who is a fish biologist who studies sturgeon, and Brenda was actually the guest on our sturgeon episode. So if anyone wants to hear more from Brenda and learn more about sturgeon, go back to the sturgeon episode. It was great. She was a lot of fun.
But finish this episode first.
So I asked Brenda, hey, what's going on with sturgeon skin? And she explained to me that scales are these structures that are calcified, which means that they're made up of mostly mineralized tissue instead of like living tissue. And sturgeon skin is made up of living tissue. It's not covered in scales. And while neither of us could find a straightforward answer as to what the actual like physical structure it is that's causing the sandpapery texture, she did say that sturgeon skin is really rough like a cat's tongue. And it's rough in both directions. So it's not like a shark, where a shark's skin, if you rub it from its nose to its tail, it's smooth. But if you rub it from its tail to its nose, it's rough. It's not like that. Sturgeon skin is rough in any direction that you rub it. She mentioned that some types of sturgeon do have denticles on their undersides, but not all of them. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily denticles. And cats' tongues have these sharp, needly spines called papillae that are made up of keratin, which is the same material as our hair and fingernails. So it's possibly something like that. It's maybe like keratin structures, maybe something like goosebumps that you have on your skin. Or, you know, if you just have like bumpy skin, it could be something like that. It could just be like keratin structures built into the skin.
Oh no, I got goosebumps. I'm so scared. Shiver me timbers. Consider me spooked.
Yeah. So it's possibly just like a keratin structure built into the skin that gives it that rough texture. Now, as for the purpose of the rough texture, Brenda described it in kind of a funny way. She said, sturgeon don't have any bones. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, kind of like sharks. You know what cartilage is?
I've heard it somewhere before.
So cartilage is this material that some parts of your body are made out of. If you feel actually your ears, you see how your ears have this structure to them that is stiff and it is firm, but it is still bendy. It's not exactly bone, right? Because your bones can't bend. Your bones couldn't bend and flex, but you can feel inside of your ear.
We're not elves.
Right.
Elves' ears are probably made of bone.
No, I think theirs are probably still cartilage too. Or your nose, right? Like feel your nose. You can feel how there's like hard structures in there, but they're still flexible and rubbery, right?
I wish noses were not so flexible and rubbery so that it wouldn't hurt if you got attacked on the nose.
It would hurt more if they weren't flexible.
Oh, dang.
Right? With them
Make
being
this nose more flexible.
With them being flexible and rubbery, that helps it absorb shock, right? If it was just firm, like totally rigid, then it would hurt a lot more when you bump into something. So sturgeon have cartilage skeletons, kind of like how sharks do. So Brenda said, I suppose that the leathery skin has evolved to keep them from being a swimming hot dog. I thought you would like that. So possibly the texture could be something like a self-defense mechanism, which I find interesting.
Okay.
And also like sharks to reduce drag in the water and help them swim more efficiently. Pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Last question.
All right. This is our last question. Let's hear it, Isaac.
You know her. You love her. You might know her. You might love her if you're her parents. Ella, the snake-loving kid, says, what is the most energetic animal or animal with the highest metabolism? Okay, Stardust, what is metabolism?
I'm glad you asked. Does anything come to mind when you hear the word metabolism?
Metal, kind of?
I can see that, yeah, because it's got meta in the name.
Bolin from Cora?
Well, let's look at the first part of the question. What is the most energetic animal? What does that tell you about what metabolism
I am the most energetic animal.
You know what's so funny? I actually was going to make that joke.
Are you kidding? It's like me specifically or you?
You stole my joke.
No, it's not me. It's Aki.
Christian does this all the time. He's always sniping my jokes. I can't believe you're doing it too. This is ridiculous.
I can't believe Christian.
So what is that? What does that part of the question tell you about what metabolism might mean?
Metabolism. You know, it has ism in it.
We love an ism. That's right.
So there's probably also metabolistic.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. You got nothing on it?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So, metabolism is the process of turning fuel, like food, for example, into energy. So, a fast metabolism means that the food that you eat is used up as fuel and converted into energy to keep your body moving, or not just moving, but alive, right? Keep your cells functioning and keep your body functioning properly. So a fast metabolism means food is converted into energy pretty quickly, which also means that the animal has to eat a lot of food to fuel its body because that fuel is used up very quickly. So animals who are warm-blooded, like for example mammals and birds, need to use energy to warm their bodies, so they use up fuel a lot more quickly than, for example, reptiles, which don't need to use up energy to warm their bodies.
Which means they need to metabolism more faster so they can warm their body.
That's right.
Which means that the animal with the highest metabolism is a mammal.
Or a bird.
Yeah, a bird.
Now, I couldn't find a lot of information on invertebrates, which includes things like insects. So I would imagine that insects would also have very, very fast metabolisms as well, but I couldn't find a lot of information about invertebrate metabolism.
Do insects even have blood?
I don't think they have blood like the way that we think of it,
if
like
they
a
have
liquid
blood,
running
then
through
why
their
aren't
veins.
these fleas just attacking each other instead of like humans?
Yeah, I don't think they have blood.
Okay.
But I couldn't find a lot of information on invertebrate metabolism, so I'm unfortunately going to have to exclude invertebrates from this answer, which is kind of a shame because I bet there is probably like an insect or some kind of creature out there that has a metabolism that rivals that of the highest metabolic rate in vertebrates. But the vertebrates with the highest known metabolic rate are hummingbirds.
Yay!
Hummingbirds. Yeah. So
bee hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds' diet is made up of mostly nectar. Do you know what nectar is?
It's like flower juice.
Yeah, flower juice. Yeah. And flower juice has a lot of sugar in it. They're basically just drinking straight juice all day long.
Honey, where's my flower juice?
Hummingbirds, that's all they eat. It's literally all juice all the time.
Turn me into a hummingbird so I can eat all of the cookies I want.
Well, you would need even more sugar than that. It would need to be basically like straight candy. So sugar is great for short bursts of energy. So hummingbirds are able to pretty much immediately use the energy that they get from the nectar that they drink. But the problem is that that fuel can only sustain flight for about 30 to 45 minutes. So the hummingbird needs to drink nectar pretty much constantly to stay in the air.
Here's a question. Just grab like a hummingbird-sized thermos cup and then just store your flower juice in that.
That would be too heavy. It would weigh them down.
Make it out of cotton.
The nectar itself would be too heavy. It would weigh them down.
Then why do they drink the nectar if it's just going to weigh them down?
They just drink a little bit at a time. They have to drink just a little bit and then fly to the next flower and get more nectar.
Oh man, I'd love to see a hummingbird with a purse.
That would be really cute.
Fashion for hummingbirds.
I would love to see fashion for hummingbirds. I think it would be cute to see one with a little backpack, I think. I would like that. Now, at night, or in other times when hummingbirds do need to actually rest, they can actually enter a state of something called torpor, which is where their entire body and all of its functions just slow way down. Like their heartbeat and their breathing and their digestion and everything in their body just like slows really, really, really far down.
But they're still aware of like their surroundings. So
I mean, barely. They're basically sleeping. They're like hibernating.
But if a predator showed up, then they'd be like, there's a predator, and then they just like wake up.
Yeah, they are pretty vulnerable during this time. But
I had to make a sound because, as you mentioned earlier...
I know, people can't see what you're doing. Yeah, they are pretty vulnerable when they're in a state of torpor because, if they do need to get back up and running again, it can take them a minute because they haven't, had enough nectar to fuel flight. So they'd be pretty vulnerable during that time. But so they can, slow their metabolism down so that they can actually rest. They don't need to constantly be eating all night long.
So it depends on if it's day or night.
Yeah. So during the daytime, they have an extremely fast metabolism, but at night, it's much slower. Some types of hummingbirds can actually store fat on their body and use this fat as energy reserves to fuel much longer flights. So some hummingbirds can actually migrate for thousands of miles.
Without drinking any nectar?
Well, they can kind of stop for nectar along the way, but they rely on their fat reserves that they've built up throughout the year and use that kind of reserved energy to fuel these really, really long flights. So they don't constantly have to be, every minute of every day of their entire life be eating every 30 minutes. That's kind of more just in a high activity period of time. But yeah, hummingbirds are for sure sort of champions of high metabolism. I was reading this article about hummingbird metabolism, and it said that if a human were to have a metabolism like a hummingbird's, a human would need to eat about 150,000 calories of food per day to keep up with the metabolism of a hummingbird. To give you an idea, a typical human diet is around 2,000 calories per day.
So basically, there'd be 5,000 lunches. It'd be breakfast, 5,000 different lunches.
You would have to just be constantly, not only would you have to be constantly eating, but you would have to be constantly eating very, very high calorie food all day long.
Just I would love going to school then because it's just candy, math problem, candy, math problem.
To me, that seems so exhausting. I would get so tired of it.
What if I was just eating all of my favorite candies at once?
What if?
Just constantly eating Warheads, Coca-Cola candies.
Oh, I love those Coca-Cola candies. Those are good. But here's the problem, though. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because, you get to constantly be eating sugar all day long, but also you cannot slack, right? Because if you go an hour without eating candy, then you'll pass out. You can't move, right? There are pros and cons to it, right?
Someone turned me back into a human.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with being a human. It seems like a high pressure, high stress lifestyle to be a hummingbird.
I think that I'd rather just have my normal candy schedule.
Yeah, that's probably fine.
Normal candy schedule. It's have candy after dinner when we have candy.
Yes, when we have candy.
We don't always have candy.
Yeah, you probably still have a little stash somewhere from one of those holidays. You might still have Valentine's Day candy. I don't know.
There's no way. If it is, it's probably just fruit snacks and goldfish and stuff that's not actually candy.
Yeah.
If I still have candy from any other Halloween or something, it's the stuff I don't like.
Yeah, it's left behind for a reason, probably.
And it doesn't get eaten for a reason.
No, Isaac, there was something you wanted to talk about at the end of the episode, right?
Yes. Thank you for staying here this long.
We've arrived at the end of the episode.
If you have just skipped to the end to hear about my ecosystem, thank you, but no thank you.
No cheating.
If you just skip to hear all about my cool ecosystem, thanks, but no thanks. I'm flattered, but that's mean. My mom put a lot of thought into scripting these questions and acknowledging that I sniped her joke. Oh yeah, go back to that part.
Do your thing, Isaac.
Okay, so I'm a bit rusty on explaining this. I think it was, so first there was a devil mantis.
Hold on, so first explain what it is that you're talking about.
So I wanted to make up an animal. So I wanted it to be an insect because I was butterfly. Mm-hmm. I was monarch butterfly. Mm-hmm. So I wanted it to be an insect. And I just loaded up on info about praying mantises. And I was like, I want to make a mantis. Also, what would a mantis pray for? To be more like me. In some ways.
Praying mantises are really cool.
Yeah. So I made up the devil's mantis.
The devil mantis.
Yeah, devil mantis.
Uh-huh.
The deviled mantis.
Like deviled eggs?
Yes.
Gross.
That'd probably be disgusting. Anyway, so it has like long sharp claws. It goes like poke, poke with its super sharp claws. Now, it has super sharp claws. It has acid in its mouth.
Wow.
It is an herbivore.
So what's the acid for then?
So, it's like a vulture. It uses its claws to cut the stems off plants.
That's so cool.
And then it uses acid to decompose them. But also, it has a very weird ability. Why does it have acid in its mouth? Well, it may be an herbivore, but animals are not all meat. That being said, they have acid, which means they can eat bones. So they let vultures do their thing with the meat, and then they just like, bone.
Very good.
Bone for me, bone for me.
That's a cool mantis.
There are also light birds.
Tell me about the light birds.
So they're like, so they are higher on the food chain than devil mantises, but are not exactly predators. I mean, like, they'll go after one if it's like their only choice, but they don't particularly enjoy doing it. Probably because they're like so hard to catch.
Yeah, I would
they're always
imagine
in
they
groups
would be.
and they're always hiding in shrubbery. It's like hiding in a world of candy. You're in an edible disguise. That's what these mantises do when the light birds come. But there's also much vulnerable, more plentiful bugs called gram grubs.
Gram grubs?
They're exactly 1 gram in weight.
Aw.
And they're tiny. When visualizing one, picture like a Charge-a-bug. Like a Pokemon Charge-a-bug. But like super tiny.
I like that. That's
And
adorable. I
they're
love
always,
Charge-a-bug.
They actually are like distant cousins of ants.
Wow.
And so, now this is special info. You're not going to find this anywhere else.
This is exclusive content, y'all.
Copyright.
Yeah, TM.
Since they are distant cousins of ants, they have similar behaviors.
Like what?
Making giant hills in the dirt that will annoy you if you accidentally trip on one. They will never let you feel the end of it if you step on one of their hills.
Do they zap you like Charge-a-bug?
No, they bite you.
Oh,
They're tiny.
That's not better.
They're tiny, but they sure do have sharp teeth. And also, they're like exactly 1 gram, so they're like duper tiny.
So do the light birds eat the gram grubs?
Yes.
Nice. Does that keep them away from the devil mantises?
Most of the times, but also they're like at war with devil mantises.
Whoa, why would they be at war with them?
Because it is said that there was this one devil mantis that got really mad at a light bird for eating his brother. And so
He swore vengeance.
He swore vengeance.
It's a swearing vengeance situation.
He was like the king of the devil mantises.
Mm.
And so his royal majesty's brother got eaten by a light bird. He started going around like attacking light birds. But get this, you might remember. They're herbivores. Y'all got no beef. Ha ha. Y'all got no beef. Ha ha ha. With these birds.
Are they still at war to this day? Or have they settled a truce?
No, that sort of fizzled out.
Oh, okay.
It's more like the new king realized that we're herbivores. We do not eat these birds.
So this is just lore. This is lore for your ecosystem.
Lore is amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love your ecosystem. You've put a lot of thought into it.
And next is going to be a plant.
Oh, yeah, because you need something for the devil mantises to eat.
Yeah, let's see. It's going to be like a berry bush. It's going to have a special kind of berry.
Yeah.
Sneaky peeky.
Would you be willing to accept submissions from kids listening for additions to your ecosystem?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Send me all of your ideas for like what they could do. What would you want them to explode juice?
Ooh, that's cool.
Just
or
like
some carnivorous plants. You know how I feel about carnivorous plants.
Oh yeah. You do have those Venus flytraps.
Mm-hmm. And pitcher plants.
Oh yeah, you have the pitcher plants. Reminds me of my shiny victory bell.
Oh yeah. Oh, you just wanted to brag about your shiny victory bell.
Can't wait for the next community day so I could get hopefully it's Mudkip.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's either Snivy or Mudkip because I really want a shiny Swampert.
We just got back into Pokemon Go, so we've been having some fun with that.
I think it's about like 8 years It's 8 years later after release.
But we're having fun.
Hey, look, they update it, and also I get to spin Pokestops.
True. All right, Isaac. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Yes.
Isaac, thank you so much for joining us and being here and having a good time. I know that everybody has been happy to hear your voice again.
There's my voice.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you. If you liked what you heard today, I'd love it if you could leave behind a kind review for us on your podcast app of choice.
And don't forget, send me submissions for my plants.
Yeah, send them to me. My email address is ellen@justthezooofus.com, and include Isaac in the subject line, and I'll make sure that he sees them.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next episode that I will be in. 14-year-old Isaac.
You think we got to do one with you every 4 years?
At least.
Okay.
I think we should do at least every year.
At least every year? We'll see about that. You bring a lot of energy to the show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what they love about me. I think.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Isaac. And thank you to everybody who sent in questions. These were awesome questions. I had a lot of fun answering them. And thank you to Maximum Fun for having us in their network alongside their other amazing shows like the ones you heard promos for here earlier in the episode. We would also like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. And that is all for today. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Adios.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.